What's up, y'all? It's your girl Amber. Today I'm talking about the Lumix S5iix. So I'm really excited to talk to y'all about this camera. I got this camera a couple of weeks ago and I recently upgraded from my GH5. So there's a couple things that I want to tell you guys that I absolutely love about this camera. I'm going to show you guys some clips that I've taken on the camera so far. And these are real life clips, clips that I've done on jobs. So I can't wait for y'all to see them. Make sure y'all stay tuned and check them out. Let's get right into it. Now, before we get into the video and I explain to you guys why I absolutely love this camera so far, I do want to let you guys know to hit that like button, subscribe button, make sure y'all comment, and yeah, let's grow this channel. We recently hit 1.3K subscribers, so I'm super excited about that. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for subscribing. I'm so appreciative. I'm gonna keep following up with some new content, so yeah, make sure y'all stay tuned for that. Without any further ado, let's get right into this camera. So the Lumix S5iix. First things first, why did I purchase this camera? Why did I upgrade from my GH5? So my GH5, I had that camera since it came out, y'all. I had that camera for a very long time. Great camera. It was my first real video camera. I upgraded from like a Canon before I had the Panasonic series, but I really love Panasonic cameras. So Panasonic was like my first introduction into like video cameras, so I've kind of stuck with them for a while. I upgraded from the GH5 to the S5iix for a few different reasons. So the first reason being it's the new version of the GH5, you guys. It's the new version of this camera. I'm already familiar with Panasonic. I love how their menu system is set up. You know, I'm already into the Panasonic world, so I really just wanted to stick with them. So that's why I went with this camera. You know, my GH5 has never really failed me, you guys. I've had it for, like I said, a long time. I've used it on multiple events, weddings, commercial shoots, all kinds of things. So I just wanted to upgrade from micro four thirds to a full frame camera. So that was my main reason for wanting to upgrade. I wanted to get out of the micro four thirds space and upgrade to full frame, because with micro four thirds, it's not super great in low light. I mean, you have to have a lot of great lighting, which I have a lot of great lighting, but you know, sometimes that can slow you down in certain areas and certain scenarios and things. So I just wanted to upgrade to the full frame space. And like I said, I went with Panasonic because I was already in the Panasonic space. I absolutely love Panasonic. I love everything about their brand. It's never done me wrong, you guys. I mean, I know there's a lot of Sony fans out there. I know there's a lot of Canon fans out there, and I love Canon for photos. I love Sony for video, but my heart is definitely with Panasonic, you guys. I have not switched from Panasonic to Sony, and I'm not sure if that's something that I will do. What I love about this camera, let's get right into it. What I love about this camera is the easy menu system. The functionality of the camera is very similar to my GH5, so I pretty much know where everything is at as far as the menu system goes. I love how they have everything set up and organized so I can find everything. You know, it's not too complicated. It's not overcomplicated. It's very, to me, it's a very simple system. You know, you can just scroll right through and find everything that you need to get. The second reason why I'm loving this camera is the autofocus system. Now, I see a lot of people talking about the autofocus not being so great. It's, you know, okay. You know, there's a lot of conflicting information out there about the autofocus system. And for me, coming from the GH5 and using the GH5 system, that autofocus was very shoddy. Like that, it just wasn't good. So on my GH5, I ended up using manual focus a lot. So autofocus isn't really a deal breaker for me. It might be for some people, but for me it wasn't. But on this camera, the autofocus system is definitely far better than anything that I've used with the GH5 system. So I really appreciate the autofocus, especially filming videos like this. You know, it's just me. I'm also using my phone as a monitor so I can see my phone and control my phone with the app. I'm gonna get into that in a second, but the autofocus system is dope. I'm gonna show y'all some test clips. I'll let y'all see that in a second. But the autofocus system, better than anything that I've used on the GH5. I'm not sure how comparable it is with Sony. I don't want to get into that comparison because me personally, I haven't really used Sony cameras, so I can't really get into that. But from seeing other content creator stuff, autofocus system on Sony is obviously A1. So that's not, a question. Is it comparable? I would say, it's definitely in the running. I haven't had any issues with the autofocus per se. Maybe, if there's multiple people in a scene, maybe it'll lock on one person, but I'm not using like the locking feature. I'm using the continuous autofocus. So no matter where you move at, it's gonna focus on what's in front of the screen. So I love it. Check out these quick examples. Don't let people scare you from the autofocus use on this camera. There's a lot of conflicting videos out there, and I probably watched hundreds of videos before I even purchased this camera. So to me, was it, like I said, a deal breaker? No, because I'm not always using autofocus. I use manual focus most of the time, but the autofocus system on this camera has been a godsend. So definitely make sure y'all grab this camera for that. That's another reason I love this camera. The third reason that I love this camera over my GH5 and any other camera that I've used so far, there is a plethora of recording modes. So if you didn't know, we have 24 frames a second, we have 30 frames a second, we've got 60 frames, we got 120 frames per second, and 120 frames a second is good if you're doing a lot of slow motion stuff. So I love all of the recording settings that were added to this camera. Definitely didn't have a lot of these settings obviously on the GH5, but I love having the option to be able to choose from a plethora of these settings. Now you do need special memory cards to access some of these functions, which is not a deal breaker because, don't you want to use fast memory cards anyway? I mean, you want to have the fastest write speed when you're, shooting video. I shoot mostly video. I do want to get into some of the photo aspect of this camera as well. That's going to be a little bit later, but the recording modes, you can't go wrong with that. And I went with this one, the S5iix, over the S5 II just because of the added recording functions that the camera has. So if you're anything like me, you want to be future proof, you don't want to be limited on what you can and can't use. It doesn't matter if you're going to use them or not, because a lot of people are like, oh well, you don't need all those recording modes, it's too much. I want to disagree because later on, you never know. You might have a client that, asked you to record in a specific setting. So I love that functionality of it. The recording modes are everything. Let's get into number 4. The fourth reason I appreciate this camera, the photos. I'm just going to get into that next. The photos on this camera are definitely bomb. They look freaking amazing, better than anything that I've shot on my GH5. I wouldn't say, I don't want to compare Canon with this camera because Canon is just, I just don't want to compare those cameras right now. But the photos on this camera are absolutely amazing. I love the color science on Panasonic. Oh my goodness. Like, I don't know. I love how natural the colors look, how green the greens look, how, just realistic the colors look on Panasonic. Now, everybody might not like the realistic look. They might like the digital look or whatever. But for me, I really appreciate the true colors on here just because when you give clients their deliverables, I feel like I want my videos to look as natural as possible, with a little saturation here of, certain colors, but you want it to look very natural. I mean, that's the best way that I can put it. You want it to look real. That's just my opinion. I love the colors. I love the photos on this camera. Now, I've done a couple of events with this camera so far. I wouldn't say I have any complaints as far as the photography side goes. I haven't gotten into like wedding photography or anything like that. It was just like a couple of birthday parties or whatever that I did. And the photos came out amazing. My clients loved it. The autofocus was absolutely amazing. I used the flash on my camera. So the flash fired off every single time. It looked great. The low light was amazing. I definitely want to get into that next as another reason I'm very in love with this camera. I love this camera so far. But yeah, the photos on this camera, the stills that are coming from this camera are amazing. I love it so far. Very high quality. Where I can pull images directly from the video. And I love, like I said, I love how the colors look. Another thing that I do want to get into, which is kind of in the same thing, like I mentioned, the color science. The color science on this camera is absolutely amazing. Love the natural colors, love the natural look. For this, what I'm shooting right now, I'm using portrait mode. Portrait video mode. I have gotten into vlog a little bit. I'm not, too crazy about using vlog. Now I'm going to use the vlog, but to be honest with you guys, I like to do, I don't want to say the least amount possible, but I want to make the work easier for myself in post. So doing a lot of color grading may or may not be on my to-do list. I did purchase some LUTs. I got some Phantom LUTs, and then I got some LUTs from Gamut. I'm gonna link all that in the description below as well. But I've gotten into the color science on Panasonic because I love the natural colors. Using vlog isn't on my to-do list right away. I'm gonna eventually get into more vlog things, but like I said, I like to make the workload easier for myself in post. Another reason that I'm really appreciative of this camera, now I don't know if I'm at 5 or 6 because that was like 2 different things in one for the last one, so I'm gonna just go at number 5. The 5th thing that I really love about this camera is the low light. So like I said before, that I mentioned in the beginning, my GH5 kind of struggled with low light as far as like grain, and it just didn't look as appealing. So I didn't always want to shoot in the nighttime. That was one of my biggest drawbacks on the GH5 and why I upgraded. This camera in low light is absolutely amazing. The colors look bomb. Everything is well lit, and I just absolutely love how it looks in low light. Now, have I gone out at nighttime and shot like a downtown scene? No, not yet, but that is something that I would like to do. But I have been in dark spaces, like dark event spaces, like the birthday party was dark, and it still performed amazing in low light. I'm working at a church right now, creating content for their church, and the lighting in there is pretty low and dark. So capturing the low light settings in there and that scenery, it looks absolutely, like, it just looks great. It doesn't look anything like my other camera, and like I said, I've had the GH5 for forever. My low light has never looked this crisp and clean. I'm also gonna plug in some videos and stuff that I've done from those, but the low light on this camera is bomb, y'all. It looks buttery. I have not used vlog in low light, so I can't comment on that, but the low light is just absolutely amazing. I love it so far. So would I say it's comparable with Sony? Once again, I'm not sure. I have not used a Sony camera in low light settings, but this camera is absolutely bomb. A couple accessories that I did purchase. Let's just get into number 6, the accessories. So when I bought this camera, it came with 2 lenses. It came with the 50mm and it came with the 20 to 60mm. Now, one thing that I can say that is kind of maybe a deal breaker for some, but may not be for other people, is the prices of the L mount lenses. So if you get the bundle, you can get 2 lenses for a pretty decent price. But as far as expanding on your lens setup, like if you want to do a 70 to 200mm or a 24 to 105, or anything over 60mm, which obviously if you want to do portraits, you want to have something over 85mm. They do have an 85mm that is pretty reasonably priced, but if you want to go over that length, then it does get pretty pricey. So I've noticed the price on these lenses are pretty, over $1,000, and maybe some people don't want to spend that amount on a lens. Everybody doesn't have the means to want to spend that much on a lens. Some people are happy with 1 or 2 lenses, but I can say that that is probably one thing that's not my favorite part about it. But it did come with 2 lenses. I'm using the 50mm right now. I've been rocking out with the 50mm and the 20 to 60. They have not failed me wrong. Now on the 20 to 60mm, I don't like that it's a fixed aperture at certain focal lengths, but what can I do? I'm looking at that either the 70 to 200 millimeter or the 24 to 105. So that's gonna be one of my next lenses that I um upgrade to, or the 24 to 70. So any one of those three lenses will be my next purchase when I do decide to get a lens. But that is one drawback about this camera, is the lens pricing. But you know, what can you do? If you want a nice lens, if you want some nice glass, invest in yourself, invest in your business and your brand, and you know, upgrade the lens. So that's just what comes with any expensive camera. So I mean, you know, that's really a deal breaker for me, because the Micro Four Thirds system was a lot cheaper, but the glass was also not as, you know, crisp, clean, and clear and robust as it is on this camera. And like I said, this one's a full frame camera, so the pricing on that is to be expected. Another thing that I love and appreciate about this camera, so that was one drawback. I mean, but I feel like a lot of people have said that. Another thing that I really love about this camera, I believe this is number 7, so let's go ahead and plug that in. It has slow and quick mode on here, slow and quick mode. So I did not have that on the GH5. Slow and quick mode is slow motion, and you know, you can speed the footage up in the camera in the settings. So that goes along with the recording quality, the 60 frames per second, 120 frames per second that I mentioned earlier. So slow and quick mode. And also, once again, you do need an SSD, or not a SSD, you do need high speed memory cards or an SSD to access these features. So just keep that in mind if you're not looking to spend a lot of money, you know, to get into the system. But I feel like if you do videos already, you should already have certain memory cards and certain SSDs. And I just feel like if you're a videographer or cinematographer, whatever, already, you should already have some of these things, you know. But if you're just starting out and you're just purchasing this camera for the first time, it may seem a little overwhelming to have to purchase all of these things. You know, you need a SSD, you need a $200 memory card, you know, you need this, you need that. It might seem overwhelming to a new person, but if you're already, you know, in this business and you've been doing this for a while, I feel like some of these things are things that you should have access to already. So that kind of goes in with the accessories, and I'm gonna say that's number 7, y'all. But let's get into number 8. All right, so the 8th thing that I love about this camera, and I just think I'm gonna start wrapping this up, because I didn't realize that this video was already at like 19 minutes, y'all. I just been talking and talking. Number 8, the 8th thing that I love about this camera is the footage looks absolutely amazing, y'all. Like, it just looks very high quality, very cinema quality, and I just love the camera. Like I said, it's a big upgrade from my GH5 to this. You know, I looked at so many brands between the purchase of this camera, and you know, I was gonna go with this camera or that camera, you know, but my heart was set on just go with what you know. You know, it's the familiarity of the camera. I really love the camera so far, and the price was absolutely right for me. You know, I purchased it for $2,200, and it came with 2 lenses. I really couldn't beat that price. You know, I really love the camera. I don't have any complaints so far. The autofocus is bomb. The footage comes out crisp. The photos look amazing. And, you know, I just don't really have any major complaints for me so far. You know, when I was watching videos before I purchased this camera, I saw a lot of people just complaining and complaining, and it kind of was just like, dang, does anybody have something good to say about the camera? You know, and I love the camera, y'all. I don't have any complaints, especially coming from my old one. You know, I just don't have anything super negative to say about it. So yeah, if y'all have anything that y'all want to see from me, y'all leave that in the comments below. Did you purchase this camera? How do you feel about the camera? Do you love the camera as much as I do? I hope so, y'all. Leave it below in the comments. If there's something else that you want me to answer, leave it all in the comments. Make sure y'all hit that like, share, subscribe button, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.